Are you lonely?
Yeah.
That was the question you posed to our subreddit.
Yeah, I know, and I should have given more context because just a lot of obviously people on Reddit are lonely, and so like,
I went to the swimming pool and I asked, "Are you guys wet?"
It's like a little bit, yeah.
I should have. What I specifically was talking about was on the last podcast. We asked if you're working from home, if you have a job that requires you to work from home more than 4 days a week, do you find that lonely? And instead, because I just put "Are you lonely?" and even though I put it in the privacy of our own subreddit,
Yeah.
fucking everyone from all corners of that site were literally like, "Yes, I am."
Well, because it feels like only half a sentence. Do you know what I mean? It feels like because there are hot grannies in your area is like the second half of that sentence, right?
Or it's the Elvis song.
Yeah, I suppose it could be, depending on like what you do in your free time.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I'm definitely fucking the grannies. Yeah.
But there was a strong response to the question, "Are you lonely?"
Yeah. Oh, you want me to?
No, I'll do it.
So I just spoke quite a bit. So
Okay,
I don't know.
sorry, no, you're right. You deserve a break.
No, it wasn't a break. I was just trying to be more considerate. I don't know. Do you want to go back to Euston?
It's like.
Have you ever felt lonely at Euston Station?
That's like a threat, isn't it?
Do you wanna-
you survive the commute from hell. You get home, you walk through the door. Your partner is like raging. You've left them with the kids for hours, and then it's like you can go back to Euston Station if you fucking want.
Yeah,
that's what that sounded
well,
like.
that's what I don't get is that why everyone is really complaining about being lonely on here and complaining about Euston. Like, surely you should be lucky to be stuck there for a couple more hours. What? Like, otherwise you just got to go home and post shit like this online.
Well, I suppose it gives you something to do.
All of that for context was a joke, and I actually did. I was very grateful at how many people replied onto that.
Yeah, no,
Thanks for the engagement, loners.
No, because it's really sincere.
Huh?
It was really sincere.
It was sincere.
What people have said on the Reddit is sincere.
There was a guy who said that he doesn't date very often, but he did really like a girl last year, and for her birthday he bought her favourite chocolates and a book, which was actually really funny. It was like What Men Are Right About, and it was completely empty. And she didn't even say thank you. I just was really upset about that. No one cares?
No, sorry, I got lost in whether or not it's actually funny, the book. Because that for me is that's like a gimmick gift, isn't it?
I just thought that was really nice. I probably wouldn't enjoy that book.
Well, I like my books to have words in.
Yeah, but I want all men
That's
dead, as I've told you before.
Yeah, sorry, yes. Yeah.
If it was like,
At their own hands, preferably.
If you gave me a binder of all the men who are deceased in 2023, then maybe I'd like that.
This was actually an exercise for you to identify like the social media handles of people that you think are at risk of suicide, so you can then commence like an online cyberbullying campaign against them to push them over the edge.
I'm with, you know what we're referring to? I'm with him tonight. Jeff, who you had the thing with.
Oh.
How mad is that?
I didn't have the thing with him, just to be clear. Like,
you told him to kill himself.
No, I didn't.
Here we go again.
You told the working class man from Wimbledon to go fuck.
We'd actually done loads of stuff together before that. And
He's good, isn't he? He's a nice guy.
He's really good, and
funny.
I think we'd known each other since I'd invited him onto like an LBC show, like maybe like 4 or 5 years before that. Like,
yeah.
I've known him for ages.
Yeah.
And I knew he was going to talk about this, and I knew what I was going to say.
It's his thing, yeah, he's lonely.
Yeah.
He's lonely because he's so fucking miserable. Oh, well, shut up, Jeff.
And basically, it got so taken out of context because what he was talking about was, in isolation, like a very good point to raise, but it got within the panel discussion became, should there be a minister for men's mental health?
Yes.
And to that, my rebuttal was, I think that with the millions of children who are on prescriptions and the other millions of people who are out of work because of mental health issues, I think it should be an all-encompassing minister. I don't think that mental health is gender-specific.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you haven't been working in the acting field for quite some time, the only natural thing to do is then say, she wants all men to kill herself, don't shag her. So...
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that bit.
You forgot about that bit?
Yeah.
That was the bit you forgot about?
Yeah, genuinely.
The ginormous, the media firestorm that followed afterwards.
Yeah.
You forgot about that bit.
Well, I forgot about Lawrence Fox and all that, yeah.
That was the precursor to that.
Yes.
That's why he doesn't want to shag me. I tell myself.
Oh, fuck.
I hope you can leave that in. I hope that all stays in.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
We'd like it to stay in.
Why not? It
probably.
couldn't have got any worse than how it was a couple of
Yeah,
years
it was
ago.
bad, wasn't it? What do you want to do? Should we read out a few of them and talk about what the things that people describe and what their lives sound like? And I know we've been quite self-deprecating, but I feel it's a coping mechanism, isn't it? It's in the same way that if you are lonely, you sort of laugh about it and have a quite nihilistic, perhaps, sense of self and your own experience. It's like it's covering up the soreness, isn't it? It's covering up the pain of the thing, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that. You're how old are you?
31.
You're 31. You got a kid.
Yep.
Busy with work.
Yeah.
Do you? Hard thing to look someone in the eye. Are you lonely? But like, do you feel it? Do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It's funny. I know we're laughing about you writing "Are you lonely" on Reddit, but now that Jacob has looked into my eyes and said, "Are you lonely?" I think I would have done the Reddit thing as well because that was a slightly intense.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. No, I loved it. Look, it's strange, isn't it? Because you can be surrounded by people and not just like any people as well, but be surrounded by the people that you love the most dearly.
When I'm loneliest
in the world, right?
That's when I die for a pint with someone. Yeah.
Where it's your kid, in my case my wife, close family or whatever, and that's lovely. But I feel, I suspect, and having read some of the things that people write here, they'll be like fucking boo-hoo, woe is me. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that even when you think you are blessed in sort of an abundance of social connections and people around you, that even in those circumstances you can still be lonely, right? Because it's almost not it's like the variety almost, right? That yes, okay, I spend tons of time with my immediate family. Yes, I spend tons of time with my colleagues, but actually the person that I want to sit down and have a beer with is my best friend who lives in Belfast that doesn't have any power. Do you know what I mean? We see each other once or twice a year.
That's it. They say beggars can't be choosers, but when you're lonely, you would like to choose who you spend the time with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess.
I'm lonely, but not for that.
Yeah. No more Play-Doh. Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one, and even now, right? I'm second guessing myself in the way I'm talking about this, which I guess is the difficulty that a lot of people have talking about their loneliness, is that you don't want to. You're almost conscious of what you're experiencing and feeling, which is clearly legitimate because that is how you feel. That is somehow kind of like insincere or not genuine, or that other people will. It's like quite a vulnerable thing, right? To talk about it, because clearly there are people who are in more lonely circumstances than yourself.
Is there really a scale of lonely though? Is it not just sort of an absolute, the feeling?
That's a good point.
That's a good question. So I've got quite a weird life, right? In a sense, like, so as a comedian, I perform 4 times a week, right? I do a lot of these podcasts and my own podcasts and other podcasts. It's a lot of podcasts. Then there's also the necessity for a lot of like laptop time, do you know what I mean, on my own. But in that time, I do that in my house where my girlfriend and my 2 kids live. And so I have to kind of enforce, like, get away, leave me alone. I need to do this thing to pay their fucking bills. But I guess the reason I say, like, so I spend a lot of time in what is, especially at like gigs and stuff, like in theatres and comedy clubs, I'm in a lot of sociable spaces being unsociable. Does that make sense?
Absolute sense.
I'm going to a lot of people's nights out and not having a night out. I don't know if it's lonely, but there's certainly a feeling of like imbalance in terms of like so like I've read through these, and it's a lot of people who are going like throughout the day I'm at home. There's no kind of workplace community. There's no or in the staff room or go for a pint after work thing, and it's like I've maybe got more of that than a lot of people because of doing stuff like this and other podcasts and stuff. And then I'll be in a green room with other comedians. And it's in that sense, you go, wow, you're just fucking around having a laugh all day. But I don't get the Fridays and Saturdays of actual enjoyment time. Even football, like going to Arsenal used to be my that was like my one thing that was still social and fun. But now I work that. Like I do football stuff as well. So like, but then I don't. It's hard to explain. I don't think loneliness makes me feel unhappy. Right. Do you know what I mean? You know what you were just saying there, Ava? Like, is there like a scale of loneliness? I think there kind of is, but then I also think like you can be lonely, but it doesn't make you miserable. Like my missus and kids are in the Canaries right now because her dad lives there. She's Irish, and that's where lonely old Irishmen go. And it's like I'm obviously lonely. That's why I dyed my hair.
Wait, does she know you've dyed your hair?
Not really. She can't
That's
really,
going to be good.
She can't really tell from the FaceTimes.
Yeah.
Because it's dark in the house because I haven't opened the curtain. The more I say this, maybe I am lonely. Maybe I am lonely, actually.
Sorry, if you talk about the things
I've
in
bleached
isolation...
my hair and I haven't opened the curtains. Feels lonely.
I think you might.
Feels miserable, actually.
Maybe I am miserable.
But I don't know.
No, I know what you mean, right? This is kind of the
Can you be isolated and not lonely? Do you know what I mean? Maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
I think that might be peace, though. That might be something entirely different.
Ooh.
You might be quite content with yourself.
Internal contentment.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
So
I think
not to get back into your Jeff Norcott every man should kill himself thing, but I think what you were saying there is that like in that situation there was a whole thing of like we need men are lonely, and it's like, well, why wouldn't women? Do you know what I mean? I don't understand why it would be that way for men and not for women. Yeah. And I think there's you know it's because we're always fucking chatting to each other kind of thing. But I don't think that's true. Do you know what I mean? That's not.
No, women are lonely as well.
I think
obviously.
Of course they are, and there are. And I don't know if the generalizations, I'm going to get so much shit for this, but I don't know if the generalizations about like men don't talk to their friends about how they're feeling, whereas women do. I don't think it's helpful because I just don't think that genders act as a monolith. I don't think that they're homogenous. And I think that there is like a cohort of people who just genuinely find it really hard to talk to other people. And I think that's who we should be talking about.
Well, yeah. I guess it's part...
It's less about men and more about loners.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, because...
We don't discriminate based on gender in the loner community.
It's just so... there's so many... There's a lot of ideas bouncing about at the moment. Like things like... People are lonely because they work from home. People are lonely because they spend all of their time online. Conversely, the other side of that argument is there are people who feel very, very alone in an office with people that they don't feel that they can speak to. Mm. And also, everything moving online now, including dating, you could argue would be very beneficial for people who find it difficult in social situations, especially like the first couple of social situations. I mean, you're both... in long-term relationships, but like, men around you, like, what are they like with meeting women? Do they find it harder online, or do you think there's more pressure now than there would have been?
A lot of my single mates hate it, like they genuinely hate it because it's become like an online thing, right? And it's hard to say because obviously they don't really know any different. Sort of Tinder came out when we were my close friends. We were all sort of 18-ish, right? So they haven't really known adult life without dating apps, and it is different to fucking whatever, like Plenty of Fish or the literal like web dating that happened before that. So they don't really know what it's like to actually have to engage with people in the real world or try and pull in the real world beyond being in a nightclub and not really having to talk to anyone. So it's hard to say, but they hate it. They don't like the kind of gamification of it. That it's almost it's like figuring out a strategy in a game for securing a real world interaction with someone. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to not fuck it up when you're messaging to then get them out in person with you. I don't know. What do your pals think of it? It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Like one thing I noticed, like a lot of my mates, I was one of the first in my circle to have kids, and I was the youngest to have kids. I was 27 when my little girl was. But then I remember there was a lot of thing of like, oh, your life's going to go, all your time's going to be taken up by being a dad and being with your missus and blah, blah, blah. But then I would always notice how time-consuming dating was. Do you know what I mean? The amount of times I'd meet a mate and they'd just be on their phone, oh, sorry, I've got a match earlier, I've just got to sort out. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, but then it's like, to what end? It's like, well, I'm not seeing you guys to spend time with my kids, but I'm I'm at Pizza Express, I'm having a good time. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the time consumption of your dating looks like that.
Yeah.
And as you say, there's almost a game to it. There's, I always say this funny thing, and then they'll say this back. And it's like, well, you're not talking to anyone. You're just playing a game. It's like,
there's not a real connection happening there.
I think, like, to sort of bring it back to politics a little bit, I think there's a massive housing thing with it as well.
Yes, massive.
Like, I think the way people live is so fucking lonely now. Like, the reality is, if you're in your like 20s or even early 30s, even if you're in like a really good job, you're probably in a house share, right? And that speaks to your thing of like, you can be surrounded by people, but fuck me, it's lonely when it's 14 Portuguese guys who you don't really... There's no living room. You know, you don't really want to be in the kitchen at the same time.
You don't want to be in there, yeah.
Well, and the Portuguese are weird, but do you know what I'm trying to say?
It sounds like a Bonnie Blue video, doesn't it?
But no, I tell you what did sound like a Bonnie Blue video. My first ever shared living, I was with 9 Swedish girls. People used to come and talk to me in Swedish all the time. I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Exactly. That's one of the many problems. Tons of the loneliness comments here where people saying people keep approaching me and speaking to me in Swedish, and I wish I yearn for human contact, but I don't speak Swedish.
Which Bonnie Blue video was that, by the way? I haven't seen Swedish girls, right?
Interesting.
Make a note.
No, it's true. But
yeah, I think the housing thing is massive. I
but
think
not even that. Like, because tons of people still live with their parents. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you're right. House share.
Or that.
Yeah.
Or living with your parents. Or like one of my best friends who lives near me, who was like, we were in the same building. He moved into the same building as me. You know, him and his missus. Where like they're expecting their first kid in a few months' time. They're just having to leave London, and it's like because they can't afford it. Like this isn't can't afford to buy. Can't afford to rent. Can't afford to rent in like Zone 2 Finsbury Park a second room to put a kid in.
Yeah, wild.
And so he's now had to go like, right, it's either back to like Hertfordshire, Stevenage, where we're from, to rent there and spend 3 hours a day on a train getting to work.
And nowhere near their friends.
Nowhere near their mates, which as someone who's got like, and I'm really lucky where my best mate and his wife had kids the same time as me and my missus. We're very close friends. The kids are the same age, and we spend loads of time together at weekends. We help with their kids, they help with us. And it's that really cringy thing of like, well, when you live in London, your friends are your family. But like that is kind of what we've done.
Yeah.
Like my missus' parents are in Ireland. My parents are alcoholics, and so genuinely they don't help.
Really? They are?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're pretty bad. Yeah.
Sorry for laughing.
No, they're funny alcoholics. They're a laugh. They
Yeah.
are a laugh, but they're not diagnosed. They're just drunk. But like it is so necessary to be around people. That like as you're alluding to about like, oh, I feel lonely, but not for Play-Doh time. Did you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never need your mates more than when you're doing all that business. But because like you can't.
Which is part of the reality, right? You know, there are conversations that you can't have with certain people in your life, right? And okay, the obvious example is with a child, because you can't talk to them about a myriad things, but something else that's bothering you in your relationship, right? Okay, so you can't talk to your partner about that. You want to talk to one of your mates about that, or you might not even want to talk to your close family about it. Like it's just, you can kind of get into unilateral patterns of communication, right? Where you're just talking to one other adult most of the time about anything that's actually important in your life, because at work, you know, you don't really talk about your personal problems. So you get home, you talk to your partner about it. Yeah. Ava demonstrates the alternative model, and then perhaps it's less lonely. I don't know, but do you know what I mean?
I think you asked me to please stop telling me. Please stop saying that Connor was weight shaming me the other day. I think you said. Yeah. Please stop saying you're not going to eat anything while you're sitting at the desk. It's making people uncomfortable.
What was
That's
making
what
me
you said.
uncomfortable? Yeah, it was making me upset. Ava.
So is that
the
a
thing.
personal thing that you're bringing into the office?
Yeah, but see, I thought that we were encouraging people to talk about how they felt about things.
Yeah, but
and then I
But
just get
not when
shut
it's
down.
pro Anna.
Yeah.
But when you're like threatening a colleague with it, that you might like contract an eating disorder because of the way he's speaking to you.
He walked over to the desk and he'll know. Okay, this is genuinely true. He walked over to the desk and he said, "Have you had a donut? Yeah, you look like you've eaten one."
Wow.
Okay, like, it's funny.
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
But that's an example of bringing a personal conversation into the office because you're in the office, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think the sort of thing that also happens is professional conversations have to happen in a personal setting because you haven't got a professional setting. If you're working from home all the time, like You should be able to just moan to a colleague about how fucking stressful the workload is. But if you're just working from home around your partner, you're just moaning to them, winding them up.
Yeah, irritating them.
Do you know what I mean?
That was one of the really common themes in the stuff we've got here. I said I would read some of these, so I will, just because...
While you're finding one, just on the housing point, I think... I don't know why I've never thought about that. That's such a massive brainwave, because I'm like, I feel like my... mental health significantly improved. That is such terrible phrasing. But when I moved to an area where I had 4 of my very good friends in within a half-mile radius, it just changed everything for me. And then one died, so that was terrible.
So sorry.
But that really affected the plan. But the 3 that are left, it has been incredibly beneficial to be able to come home after work and actually be able to just see them on a whim.
Local. Yeah, massive. That is I am definitely spending way more money on rent than I should, but because I'm close enough to my mates that I can finish a gig on a Friday, I can meet people at 11:30. Do you know what I mean? Because it's near enough to my house. I can go for the last pint of the night after work.
And that must change your entire...
That's worth £2.5 a month. It's worth £2.5 a month.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's the biggest thing about it. And we all know, the other thing, the romantic side of things, we all know people who stayed in relationships too long because they were getting a good deal on rent. Fucking hands up.
Well, as in right now.
Not right now.
That's what I thought you said.
No. Sorry, not right now. No. But the one before this.
In the past.
If you'd have seen the gaff in Kennington.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, wow.
£10.50 a month. Yeah. £10.50 a month. Rent.
10. How many bedrooms?
1.
Yeah, okay.
Come on, but do you know? Also, I mean, no, she wouldn't watch this. Surely, I think she'd see
roll the dice.
She'd see
roll
my
dice,
name.
Is this your ex?
Yeah.
Okay, the argument you make is why the fuck were you watching that?
What
if
me?
She does watch it.
Well, yeah.
If she knows about this.
I think she'd turn this off. She saw I was on it, but
amicable breakup, was it?
No. But I tell you what,
my ex watches all of these. My ex watches all of these.
And but you amicable? No. How do you know then that he watches them all?
Because
comments.
Yes.
Burners.
Yeah.
Shall I read out some of these?
Yeah.
Are you lonely things? I'm going to read 3 of them. They're all about sort of tangentially about working from home. First one. In the context of the podcast episode today, my office doesn't have a policy of going in. Therefore, most people don't. As I work in local government, many colleagues of mine are aged 35 plus. As such, they have families where work from home suits them. However, as a 25-year-old, I find the lack of youth connection has meant that I struggle now in social situations where I didn't before. I've attempted to go into the office on many occasions. At the start of my graduate post there, I went in 5 days a week. I was lucky if I spoke to someone once a day because the office was so quiet. Next one. I'm 31 and I can't help but be a bit jealous of my parents, who not only met each other, but their friends and much of their social circle through work. I have lots of friends at work, but it does seem like not the done thing to migrate those friendships outside of the office, which feels like a shift from previous generations and a bit sad. This seems even more exacerbated for the Gen Z staff, who not only won't come to work drinks with senior members of the team, which is fair enough, but never spend a minute with each other once work ends. This is just the staff who come into the office. There are a large portion who you'd see when it was mandatory during their probation, only to never be seen again when that ended, who now not only never come in, but never even put their cameras on when we have team meetings. And then finally, people at my work are mostly 40 plus and prefer working from home, so the amount of people in the office is much less than pre-COVID. And like Ed, I actually prefer going into the office. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't speak to anyone all day, apart from my family who I live with. It also makes me get up and shower each day. Lol. Whenever I work from home, I wake up 5 minutes before I need to log on and won't shower, as I'm not leaving the house.
You see, I do think that it is helpful for a lot of people to be pushed into an environment where they have to interact with people they wouldn't normally interact with.
Yes.
Like whether that's like age differences, class differences, like you're just different upbringings. Like I just think it is helpful for you to be kind of smashed together and have to get on with them.
Yeah.
And like even if someone is like incredibly jarring, like it's actually really good for you as a person to be an all-rounder, to learn how to negotiate working around them.
Yeah.
Like even if they are like the worst person on earth.
Yeah.
It's just quite helpful for you. But then on the other side of it, I'm looking at that and I'm like, well, why would everyone want to wake up in the morning, turn their Zoom camera on and do like a meeting that is probably pretty inconsequential?
Yeah.
Because it's fucking good for you. I'm sorry. And again, I worry that this is a right-wing thing. Like, I'm worried that this is
transpires you've actually become incredibly reactionary.
Yeah. This is the prep bosses speaking now. But I like, get to fucking work. Have a shower. Do up your tie and sing the national anthem. No, But like, I'm sorry, go and fucking talk to people. I do it to myself. And the people, I'm chasing Jeremy Corbyn around Islington trying to have a fucking conversation when I'm working from home.
I feel like you've taken it to a more extreme level than people necessarily need to.
You do need to fucking talk to people, and you do need to kick yourself up the arse sometimes. My daughter, right, she's 4 now. She's in preschool, right? Like, she doesn't have to be in preschool. She didn't have to be in nursery previously. But we did it because it's like, it's good for your social development. Go and fucking talk to people. Does she want to go into nursery every day? No. But if you're having that conversation about a 4-year-old and going, I know that sometimes you can't be asked, but it's good for you, and every time you get there, you actually enjoy yourself. That applies to adults. Yeah. My missus's parents both live on their own, right? Her dad lives on a boat in the Canaries. Her mum lives on her own in Ireland. Like, the first few days of spending time with them is like, and one of them will watch this, it's difficult sometimes because they're not used to being around people.
Like downloading information.
But it's not, they just don't know what it's like to like wait for your turn to speak. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As humans,
no, I know people like
you
that.
have to push yourself into doing a bit of that. Like,
I think people have different levels though, right? Like some people, Ed in the last episode was talking about how he needs to go into the office, right? Because it's like, to keep him on even keel, he needs a certain amount of social interaction.
Yeah.
But that level is different for different people, isn't it? You know, some people are really extroverted, benefit from maybe 5 days a week, constantly being in social, but might describe themselves as a social butterfly. Other people, more introverted, don't need that same level. And it's about finding where you sit on there and then providing yourself with that thing. I understand what you're trying to say.
I do just think a lot of people
not everyone wants or needs that.
But sometimes it's not about. Sometimes what you want is different to what you need, and I think sometimes you need to kick up the arse.
And I'm saying this in the face of this email I got earlier where I said something similar to that, a bit softer though, and they said that it was a worse take than like, I can't get a doctor's appointment because of immigrants and the government has no money because poor people have too many children.
People aren't going to start emailing me.
They were on
the
same.
No.
Apparently they were on the same. Anyway,
we routinely give out her email address.
Is it in the description? Is that what I've signed up for?
Any complaints, please send to.
But I would say I'm very extroverted, but I can be introverted for like days and weeks, and I don't think I would leave the house unless I have a reason to leave.
Yeah.
Like of a weekend, I never make plans, right? I never ever make plans. Plans are made for me. And no, I don't even, because I'd like to stay home. I would genuinely like to stay home all weekend. But I end up going out, and I'm like, every time I do go out, I'm like, I'm really glad I did that. That was really good for me. Because if I don't have anything that's like thrust upon me, I just won't leave.
Yeah.
And then by Monday morning, I'm weird.
Like, and there's a good chance your mates have spotted that and are doing that like
deliberately. Yeah.
There's a good chance. Like I mean this in a nice way. Like it means your mates care about you. There is a good chance your mates have gone, God, she gets fucking weird if she's left to her own devices. Or like what you described a moment ago.
Has anyone remembered to invite Ava tonight?
No, but seriously, what you just because I like we have mates that we do this with, me and my group of friends. Like what you described a moment ago, we were like, I'm quite extroverted, but there will be times where like I will just want to stay in the house. I won't leave the house for days alone. And it's like, it's just like it feels like you're talking about depression. Do you know what I mean? It sort of sounds like, but then it often is. That's how like a depression will start.
Yeah.
And there is a good chance your mates will be going, make sure we get Ava out, because otherwise she'll just sort of spiral.
But I'm quite happy there.
Spiraling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you think you are, but then you're fucked.
No. You're right, because I do think I am. But then when I go out, I'm like, oh, wow, I feel so much better now that I didn't. Yeah.
Do you think phones have something to answer for here?
Yeah, but I don't look at my phone when I actually get really... I've actually reached a real threshold with like why I was so unhappy at the end of last year. And it was because I just get texted all the time. And I don't mean that in a way that's like, oh, look at me, I get so many texts or whatever. People... My work phone is my phone, right? And we're in a job where like people want to contact you all the time because they want you to promote stuff or cover stuff or whatever. And it just got to a point where I was like, on a Sunday, I knew that between Sunday 9 and 12, my phone was going to not stop ringing or not stop getting texts or whatever. And now being in the house and just being with my phone in the bathroom, nowhere near me, has revolutionised how I feel about my life.
I think you make a really good point, and I think it's very disciplined of you to be able to spot that and act on it.
I think way heavier.
No, but I think a lot of people do the same thing, but don't
stop it.
Put the phone in the bathroom or whatever.
Oh, it's great. You can put it in the toilet. It's like literally where my granddad used to stash everything. That's why I went away.
No, look, I think
it's just a really obvious place.
I'm half Australian. A lot of my family lives on the opposite side of the world, and I would not be able to, like 20 years ago, I couldn't see them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
The technology didn't exist to be able to go, oh, I'm going to call you now, and I'm also going to look at you when we speak, which is amazing and insane, and gives me a level of connection with people that, you know, I could probably count on both hands the amount of times I've met some of these people, right? Because we live on opposite sides of the world. Equally, it can also, whilst they do deliver that sort of and can provide that deeper connection with people that you're really close with, there's this kind of halo of people that are not your nearest and dearest, i.e. your family or your best mates, that it creates this veneer of connection where, because you're in a group chat with your 10 best mates from back home at school and you all send each other memes and you laugh about the football but then you don't actually ever really perhaps talk about anything of substance or arrange to see each other, and so it gives you this illusion that you are in contact with each other and that you're forming, like, you have a meaningful social relationship with these people. But then you go, actually, do you know, when was the last time we all actually saw each other? When was the last time we all actually communicated without this group
Is that
chat
a living
mechanism?
situation problem?
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of those things.
I think it's a little bit a problem of holding on to friendships that you maybe shouldn't. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I think group chats creates an obligation to hold on to things that maybe should live in the past. Like, I've got exactly what you just described, right? I've got, like, me and my mates who went to school together, are in a group chat, and we'll see each other like a handful of times a year. Someone will get married, someone will have a stag, and then we all do a Christmas curry and play football every year. And there are times on those stags where, you know, you just stood there.
Day 4.
You just stood there with someone who you were in maths with and wasn't really, and you just like, you can't keep the glass away from your mouth because you've got nothing to say.
Yeah.
So the only thing you can do is just keep taking a sip, keep taking a sip. Like, there was one I went on, and it's like there was pictures of, like, people, like, you know, it's like, oh, this was a great time in Dublin. And you look at the pictures, everyone's just sort of looking at the walls because it's like there's nothing to say. There's nothing to say. Like, you're just 500 quid gone, weekend in Dublin. It's like
Pint? Yeah, pint, yeah.
yeah.
Packet, gear, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Chemicals to make you talk.
Yeah.
Nothing to say,
Yeah.
but chemicals to make you speak.
He hasn't stopped talking for 3 hours and he said nothing.
He said nothing because there's nothing to say. You were in maths together 20 years ago. You've got nothing in common.
So is that the message for, like, all of these people who are lonely? Is that, like, you're surrounded by people all the time and it's not great? That's your argument.
I sound like a cunt.
No.
No, and you know,
That's the fun. Again, that's like being glib, and it's funny, and obviously, but I do think there is something revealing.
I'm exaggerating for effect, of
Yeah, I
course.
know.
I was exaggerating for effect, but everyone really, like, it really went a bit west in here.
We have called the Samaritans, and they're on their way.
Yo,
So-
fucking hell.
No, she hates them. She doesn't want them because they help the men. That's what. I've actually, it's here. Look, it's all in here. If you read this, it says.
I think it's even got my notes
There we
in
go.
it.
There we go.
I think it's got loads of my notes in it.
Is it really?
It might be that one.
For
Try it. Open
listeners
it
of the
up.
podcast, there's a
I've picked up Jeff Norcott's book.
Oh,
which
no, just
is
a couple of
on-
lines and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did read it.
Did you? When you said that in the thing, when in the actual thing, you were like, "I've read the book," or did you say, "I will read the book"?
No, I had read it at that
Oh,
point.
you had read it.
And I actually paid for that
when he says
because
there's
his
just
publisher was so slow at sending it over.
there's just a couple of lines. It's on every page, and they're sort of drawn diagonally across
there's
the
words.
body of
What
text.
did I highlight? What did I want to talk
There's
about
words
there?
next to. What's that shit? Rubbish. As if they commissioned this. Yeah, man.
Interesting insights. Yeah, look, I guess maybe the lesson is, you know, you're not actually people that you suspect to be not lonely. That even in a situation, I actually don't think it's that much of a reach to say that the person in the comedy club that's standing up and making everybody laugh.
Oh, I don't want to do that fucking thing. Oh, they're all actually depressed.
Yeah.
Like,
But
I'm not.
no,
I'm
but-
having a good time.
But what I mean to say is that when you are isolated and lonely, you look at people who aren't isolated, and maybe the assumption is that person isn't.
This
but
is
they
it.
but they can be.
Isolation takes
Yeah.
different forms. There's
Yeah.
different factors, and like, and this is what I've learned. Even women are lonely sometimes when they're not fucking nattering. But it's
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's yeah. I don't know.
You've made a few gags like that on the podcast so far. You know?
Yes,
It's
sorry.
When you say
But
you're
they-
getting
yeah.
reactionary, we could just say you're misogynistic.
No. I think I've made
No?
that exact gag twice,
Yeah.
and then I said something about Portuguese people.
This is like a terrible social media apology. Isn't it?
Yeah,
I can't quite remember what I said, but I know it was offensive.
I think the loudest women are like the most miserable on their own. Like my friend who died, she was the loudest person, like ever.
Yeah.
And then also, so I made these comments with Jeff Norcott, like literally off the back of that death. It was like 2-3 months afterwards. So I was still like very much in the headspace of like, no, women can get very miserable and do these things, you know?
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
My fiance, I should address her properly. She's very like how you describe it, like she needs to be dragged out sometimes. And she thinks that she wants to be left on her own, but then if she's left to just do that too much, she'll get lonely without knowing it. Do you know what I mean? And whereas I'll always drag her out and make her come out. She's an awful flaker. You know what I mean? People just fucking cancel all the time.
Yeah.
Like she has a reputation of like people would invite her knowing she'd cancel, whereas now I get her out.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go. Not such a bad guy after all. Not such a misogynist.
Reputation.
And I pay for the drinks.
Wow. What a hero.
And do you ever want to lead?
Yeah, when I say I drag her out, I meant.
And your
with a piece of
outings
rope.
are like, so the other week you went up to, where was it that Bonnie Blue was filming? You took...
We started.
I know
with Bonnie Blue,
where she
didn't we?
did it. I know where she did it. Where Bonnie Blue did her thing.
You've like open source, like Bellingcat when there's like a drone strike in Ukraine.
Fitzrovia, she did it.
You're like identifying the
No,
postcode.
you
on the
know
street
where it
sign.
was as well, because
It's
you got me to
Fitzrovia.
follow that guy.
What?
She did it in.
It was at your mate's house.
She did it at your mate's.
Is this a bit?
No.
What?
She actually told me to follow that guy on Instagram. You're like, oh, that's...
Oh yeah. No, he's not my friend.
Where's the guy who went?
No, I followed this guy on Instagram. You might like this actually. A couple of weeks ago, he's called Lord Edward Davenport.
Right.
I don't know who he is. He appears to be a sort of aristocrat with an interest in Thai women, and he quite often sort of posts about the parties he hosts.
Right.
And recently he posted, and it was him and Bonnie Blue, and it was like celebrating Bonnie Blue's 1000. And it was the two of them sat on a bed. She's kind of sort of draping herself over him. I never watch his videos with the sound on, so I don't actually know if he's saying anything when his mouth moves. But you know, he just sort of, he's a strange character. He's a good Instagram follower because you're sort of watching him being like, "Are you okay?" But I don't know him. He's not my friend.
So you think he's lonely?
It looks like he pays people to act like his entourage. So he posted a reel today where it's him. The caption is about him and his new Thai girlfriend, and they get out of a car, and it looks like he's paid people to look like security, and they sort of escort them out into a bar. But there's nobody else there. There's no need for a four-man security team.
Yeah, but you know how different it would have been had Lord Mountbatten taken his.
Yes, I suppose we do need to consider that fact.
So that's maybe what Lord Davenport is thinking about.
Yeah, I don't actually know if he is a lord. But anyway, it's interesting
now
Instagram
that
follow.
Sinn Féin is running in Islington North, I think they've got to be on guard.
I agree. We've come full circle. Maybe that's the end of the record. We've been going for quite some time. That's hour and a half, Sam?
Yeah.
Sorry, Sam.
Is that the longest you've done?
No, we did like a 4-hour special once.
Oh, fuck.
And
an 8-hour action.
got really drunk. Yeah, the less said about that, the better. Right.
Yeah, that was... Yeah.
Ava Santina. Always a pleasure, never
I
a
thought
chore.
we wrapped up already. I thought we were done. Hard exit.
Well,
Just leave it there.
Well, I think it's nice to provide people an opportunity to plug things.
No. I think that if they've got let's really play on their abandonment issues, because they were like really in like the warm arms of our podcast then, and then we just took it away.
Sopranos, Fade to Black, just out.
Right.
No, Jacob, what are you promoting? Are you going on tour?
I am actually. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yes, I'm going on tour. Going on tour. 9 dates, February to March. Back on the road. I'll be honest with you. I've been touring the same stand-up show for nearly a year. Like
you want to sell it here. You want people to
Sorry,
come.
yeah,
so
no, come. Like, Sorry, I keep forgetting we're recording. That's the sign of a good show, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm extending it because it's going well. But then also,
But if you've seen me recently,
no,
it will be the
I'm
same
sorry.
material.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah. I'm not fucking writing jokes. But no, no, it's the same show as it has been since last March. But also, like, I've done the good places. Like, I've done fucking Bristol, I've done Brighton, I've done London twice. I'm going to Folkestone. Like, I'm going to Crawley. I'm going to fucking.
Are you
Folkestone.
joking? That's way more fun. Like, 'cause,
I like Folkestone.
You think it's obvious with Bristol?
You should see the ticket sales. They're not as fun.
All right, we'll go and see him in Folkestone and Crawley.
Yeah, no.
If you're in Folkestone, go.
No, Folkestone's great. I used to spend my summers in Folkestone, and I'm going to go and stay on the same caravan park the night, because the last night of the tour, I did this deliberately.
Nice.
Finish in Folkestone, take the kids, stay in the same caravan park that I used to stay in.
Have you stayed in a caravan park in a while?
Not in 20 years.
Because I remember as a kid, like I could remember this so vividly, like the noise of seagulls on the top of the caravan.
Yes, yeah.
It was the worst sound I've ever heard. No sound has ever been replicated by that.
Seagulls make me feel quite nostalgic.
Yeah, when they're not like, pecking at your ceiling.
Ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
They're in and there. Yeah, no, I'm going on tour, and
Okay.
and I do a podcast called the Screen Rot podcast.
Have you done Lord Edward Davenport before?
No.
Will,
but
will you?
I will
You
make
check
a
it
note
out.
and I'll
Yeah.
check out
You
Lord,
should.
I think you're going to like it.
Lord Edward Davenport. Yeah.
Have you followed him recently?
I went all the way through.
Oh, you watched
I
all of
loved
it?
it. Yeah. I like the most recent ones is like her, Bonnie Blue, like kind of like doing some sort of like animalistic thing around him.
I think I've got to fucking detox my brain from Bonnie Blue soon. Do you know
I,
what I mean?
I think generally, as a rule of thumb.
There's too much of it, man, and it's inescapable now. Like, they're everywhere. Her and Lily, like they are all over the shop, and we, we're talking
When you sleep, when you wake up.
Yeah,
when
but
you're in the
they're
shower.
like,
You can turn it off. Like you don't have to like have her running.
You
on,
can
like,
turn the porn off,
Yeah.
but they're everywhere. They're in the Daily Mail. That's what I read.
Your
I've got right
fiancé
wing, but the
being
point
like-
is,
I imagine like Jacob with like a 1,000-yard stare, googling like Lily Phillips, man number 973, just like dialing it up. As much of a dead-eyed stare as the two of them have when they're going for it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me.
It was a pleasure,
Really
mate.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much. We loved it, didn't we?
Yeah.
we
and
loved
it was really long. Sorry.
Well, I think
I
we
told you it
went
was only
deep.
going to be an hour.
We went deep, didn't we?
Okay.
So,
Jesus Christ.
yeah.
All right.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next one.